morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy Sabbath. Let me get settled here a little bit, so just don't mind me. Look at you. All ready for this morning? I can take time to get ready. Yes? All right, I got my water. Make sure I turn this on. It's on? All right, so again, welcome to our Vivid family. For those of you that are guests, thank you for joining us this morning. And one thing that you might not know for Vivid here is that, of course, you guys are all officially family now. And you always get different things every time you come in, because you never know who's going to be giving you the message. So it does kind of look like, well, it could be a guest or one of our own members here. And actually, for those that don't know me, my name is Lily, and I'm actually one of the youth leaders. So I get the privilege and opportunity to be with all these lovely youth that we have here. We have a couple in the morning, that came in this morning and did the garden prayer. Aren't they beautiful? Her mom was. I'm her mom. Okay. Well, and I also wanted to, like always, you know when you have your parents that come and visit, and especially when it's not in their church, I actually, obviously I have to embarrass my mom that gave birth to me. So Mom, you just want to, wait, Mom. Yeah, so this is my mom. Look, see? Now you're gonna get my beauty from my mom. So I'm super happy that she's here. And of course, my sister, all the way from Portland, and a couple of guests that came in. So thank you so much for being here. And as we have been sharing a little bit more on our series. So we've been doing series Go. So back in October, actually 20th, I kicked off the series, and I get to wrap it up. Isn't that fun? Well, for me, this actually. So just so you know, this is actually my third sermon in church. So bear with me, God's still working in me. Okay. So I got some feedback from my family, which I appreciate. Thank you, Karina, for your honest opinion. As we think about being up here, it could be a little scary, a little intimidating. I know some of you heard that people would rather not public speak and, do something else instead. But again, I feel very honored that God has given a calling that sometimes we try to avoid, but here I am. And hope that this is going to be a great message for all of you. Actually, I know it will be. So why don't we go ahead and bow our heads and do our prayer. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you, God. Gosh, this is amazing. Another day, another Sabbath. We're here in your presence, God. We ask for the Holy Spirit to come in. God, as I speak, as I use your words, that it be yours, not mine. And as my message goes on, if I have something prepared that you thought is not fit, please remove and add anything at your will. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. We all pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, holidays. Who had a great Christmas?
Amen.
All right. How about who is glad Christmas is over?
Amen.
Can you raise your hands? You're lying. The gifts, you get all caught up in the Christmas. It's like, okay, that's over. Then you have New Year's. Yeah, someone looking forward for New Year's? No, resting. Some of us are like, just get this year going. 2018 was a couple big years for a lot of you. Events, family, things happen. Some of us are probably looking forward for this year to wrap up and look in 2019. So as I was studying for the message for today, really hoping that God was like, okay, God, what do you want me to tell? What do you want me to share? And when this was going to come up, I was like, I really want to talk about this. I actually want to talk about this sermon back in October 20th, but it just didn't feel right. So I feel like this is the appropriate time where I can really talk about the message. So when we look at our brochures, we have our verse. Here it is, and it's Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. All right, so the question is, or the theme around Series Go is, who are you in relationship with? Okay. When you think about relationships, like think about people to people. When does a relationship supposed to end? So this is really what we're going to be talking about today as we look at 2018. Who are you connecting with right now? Who's in your life, and how do you know you're supposed to end it? So let's look at the definition of relationship. Some of us, that kind of helps. All right, I googled it because the internet has everything. So a relationship. the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected or in a state of being connected. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's with people. It could be with an object, a thing, a place. All right. On this, I had to put a picture. This is like the only picture. So like this is like the slide of a picture. The rest are words, just giving you a heads up. So who here, when you were young, you were maybe attached to a toy, a blanket, I don't know, something. And we think about this relationship, right? This picture is literally from last night. And I'm going to introduce you guys to Wolfie, Baby Elephant, and Promise. So I have 3 daughters, beautiful daughters. One is 17 years old, and when she was in elementary, she was attached to this wolf that's called Wolfie. Well, she named it Wolfie. Actually, I don't even know. Sometimes it has tags that says the name Wolfie. So they, I don't know if you named that. Okay, it's Wolfie. She still has it. I had to ask her, hey, do you still have Wolfie? Because everywhere she went, and we even have pictures. It was right here. Have you seen like those pirates? I think they have like a parrot or something. I don't know if they have it. But anyways, in any picture, she would have Wolfie. She would sleep with Wolfie. I mean, there was times I was like, can I please wash this Wolfie? And it was like a battle. She's like, but why? And I was like, honey, I need to wash Wolfie. Then there is Baby Elephant. And, well, obviously it's the elephant. And that's Karina. That's my 50-year-old daughter right there. She was also attached to her baby elephant, you know, because big sister has Wolfie. She needs to have her baby elephant. Same thing. She would actually put it here. She'll carry like a baby and have her purse attached to this thing. And then there's Promise. I think that's a caterpillar. Is that, okay. It's a caterpillar, and that's for my youngest daughter, Lily. She's back there like waving, saying, yeah, that's Promise. That one, so that's recently, we're currently trying to help her detach from Promise. And even to wash is also a battle. You know, sometimes we're like, honey, this needs to go in the washer. And she would then be like, okay, I need to put it in the washer. Okay, go ahead and let it go. And I would try, where's Promise? There was one night, long ago, not recent, not 2018, you know, she's 9 now. We were going to bed, Promise went missing. I mean, when you have a child and their toy that they're attached to because they have bonded and built a relationship with, the whole household could not go to bed. Okay, it was past bedtime. I am tired. My husband's tired. My daughter's at school the next day. No, the whole household had to find Promise. And here are her teenage sisters. Where did you put it at last? Well, accept your footsteps. Find them. Where did you go? And she's like, I don't know. She's like crying and bawling because we cannot find Promise. We end up actually finding it eventually, I don't know, an hour. I felt like it was an hour, might have been 20 minutes, but for some of us it felt like an hour because we're crying and trying to tear the house apart, finding Promise. And of course she's happy, makes her joy, she gets her Promise, now she's able to go to bed. So why am I talking about Wolfie and Baby Elephant and Promise? Through attachments, through relationship, with people, with objects, with things. And we start as we were little kids. Think about your Promise, your baby elephant, your Wolfie. See, sometimes we think as we're younger that we eventually detach from them. No, it might no longer be a Wolfie. I don't know. It might be an iPhone, Instagram, be a lot of different things. So as we think about who you're in relationships with, hopefully this will help you really think about what we need to let go. Okay. Well, I think we want to keep looking at, oh, there it is. I guess no more Wolfie. All right, so as we were talking about relationship, and I keep looking at my notes just for those that don't know me, I am a talker. Like, you just give me talking, I will not stop. You're like, where is she going with this? So notes will help me get organized as you see me look down, just to make sure I'm within my time and that you guys enjoy the rest of your Sabbath. But if it goes a little bit over, we're okay, right? Don't worry, my dog will give me the green light. Okay. All right, so as we look at our focus and the messages and our New Year's resolutions, We always have them. Somehow I start, every time we look, it's always about diets. Like, maybe because all the food we ate during the holidays, that maybe we want to start off by just, slowing down a little. The message I was really getting from God around was, what God wants us to know is, who's in your life? And when we get blessings, you know how God blesses us? Oh, when He blesses, who He sends? He sends people in our lives. You know how the enemy wants to distract you? You know what he does? He sends people in your life. Might not be people, it might be things. So, as I mentioned around, God or the enemy trying to send people or things in our lives, sometimes it's difficult to figure out if they were meant to be a liability or an asset. I know, it doesn't sound familiar for some of you, school or work. So liabilities is people that, you can look at it like people that take away from you. It's a risk. An asset is that it's adding value to you, right? So sometimes it might be difficult, but with the Word of God that I want to find today and give you this message is to help you identify which ones are coming from God. Which are the people you were supposed to have in your life or things that would help you with your purpose. God has created all of us. If you think of the series Go, He has a purpose for each one of you. He has a calling. But there's distractions in our lives. And sometimes when we're in those relationships with things or people, because we're in it, we don't see it. We don't see that's not where God wants us to be or talk to or be around with. So, before I know we have some verses up there, to help you with taking inventory, and by the way, have you been to sermons when people talk and they say a message and then you look at like your husband, your wife, your kid, like, did you hear that? Yeah, did you hear that? Okay, this message is actually for each and one of you. It's not for your neighbor, not for your kid, your mom, your sister, your brother. It's for you. So I'm going to go ahead and help you identify some of these relationships that you might be like, I think I'm pretty good. My cousins, my sister, I'm good. Well, let me give you a list that might help you maybe, uncover that you might have a relationship that you might want to think about. So let me go ahead and go through this list. I'm glad that I'm Latina and I speak really fast because I'm going to go through this list, all right? So bear with me. All right, let's see. Best friends, acquaintance, your girls, your boys, business colleagues, your mentors, students, relatives, partners, associates, teammates, clients, followers, fans, supporters, boyfriend, girlfriend, baby mamas, baby daddies, friend with benefits, just friends, fiance, spouse, spiritual leader, pastor, and even the church, to name a few. Okay, the question is, who is adding value to your life? And who's taking value from you? Now, okay, in case some of you are like, we're the perfect family. I mean, I have good people, I don't have it. All right, maybe this next list might help you identify around some of the things that might maybe help trigger around what I'm trying to get at. All right, here we go again with the list, okay? We have electronics, social media, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Netflix, Hulu, video games, gambling, food, gossiping, your car, drinking, drugs, porn, dancing, medications, credit cards, money, gym, makeup, shopping, fishing, hunting, school, and your job, to name a few. Should I go on? No, that's where I ended, so I can't go on. So I named a couple of these things. So I just want to make sure I'm very clear. I'm not saying those are all, some are actually bad, the ones I named, but some are not all bad. And I'm not saying they're bad, so I want to make sure I kind of put that out there. I'm saying is that it cannot go before God. Okay? If that thing, that item, that person is before God, you've not built a relationship, a bond with something that you have to ask, was this God's purpose? Are they adding or are they taking value from me? See, some of the problems that we're in is because of people and things we are embracing. So now we can look at the slide and actually read the verse. All right, so 1 Corinthians 15:33. Do not be fooled by those who say such things. This is Paul telling actually to the believers. Bad company corrupts good character. Okay, let's test it in a little bit. Bad company. So it's no matter how good you think you are, that thing, that person can infect you. And you might not even know it. Because you're like, oh, I'm good, I don't do that. But when you're around them, somehow, like all of a sudden, some of us are like our necks, you know, like, but we weren't like that prior to them. I remember I had a friend, as of now we're no longer, just because with time, you know, I think God wasn't a believer then, back in high school, but thank goodness that still in my life. I remember that there was a situation. My sister, my lovely sister's there. She had won for high school. Okay, it wasn't prom. It was homecoming. So she won queen. Yeah, it's my sister. And anyways, I remember she's younger than me, by the way. So I had already graduated, and she was excited. She's like, hey, it's my homecoming thing. You know, when they do the ceremony, please come for the assembly. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So I had a friend that knew that was her special event. For those that know me, I'm working on it, but I'm really nice to people. I really am. Seriously, those that don't know me, I really am. And so what I did at that time was she asked me to go shopping with her. She's like, I really want to get this skirt and all this stuff. And I was like, well, are we going to make it back on time if we go to the mall? Because we lived in Woodbrook, so we had to travel to Salem. And she's like, yeah, we'll make it back. Okay, did I make it back? I did not. So I missed an important event for my younger sister. I think she has forgiven me now. We've never really talked about it. You forgive me, didn't you? Okay. This brings peace to me, actually. I didn't want to bring it up. I was like, what if she shows up and then she doesn't know me? No, but think about it. There's just a small little story of to me at that point I was trying to please my friend because she was my close friend in high school. I mean, we were like, I won't say what they call us. But anyways, we were always together. But there was a special event in my family, but she knew it was important to me. She didn't care. To her, what was important was for her, and she also knew I wasn't going to not say, okay, that's a little bit of a pushover. Not anymore. See, God's still working on me. But back then, I didn't have the courage to say, this is important to my sister. I need to be there for her. So, again, when we look at bad company corrupts good character. And we just went shopping. It was just a skirt. She didn't even look cute. Alright, so then we look at the next one, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. See how it talks about letting us strip off every weight? That's those relationships that probably not good for you. For things, objects, people. Look how God's so good, right? And let us run with endurance the race of God has set before us. So what I'm trying to get at is get rid of relationships that are slowing you down. And that's really what we're looking at 2018. We look at this past year or even previous years that we're still attached to those wolfies, those promises. God's saying, let go. So you probably wonder, wait, how do I know? How do you know? What if you're in the moment and you don't know it's bad? Looking back, by the way, that friend was not that bad. I'm really making something about actually. Just certain things. Looking there, I just thought, well, she's my friend. I'm going to be there for her. Looking back, there was other scenarios. I was like, gosh, that really wasn't any benefit to me. It wasn't like horrible, but it was still not a good friendship. It wasn't adding no value to the course I needed to go. Actually, she actually was not a good friend. I think about it, she made me steal for the first time. I know kids can believe that. See, bad people, them. So I tell you who your friends are. But seriously, it was at that moment you felt that it was okay, that it was kind of cool, but it wasn't. That was out of my character. So then we wonder, how do we know? Well, don't you worry. We have the best defense ever possible, which is the Word of God. So, actually, let me just pause here for a second. So before I talk about how we're going to get the Word of God and find out, we're going to use a story, is I do want to let you guys know, who are my married people in the building? Raise your hand, be proud. Like a book, I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you. Well, congratulations, many more years to you. Just to be clear, if you are married, this is not necessarily about your marriage, okay? Because I know some of you are like, oh, this is the time I knew it, this is the calling. No. Okay, that is a covenant between what God has put both of you together. This is not for you to get to end. This is intervention, so some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, you can use it, or keep going to your marriage counselor, or get one, okay? God wants you to fight for that. That is one He does not want you to let go. So I want you to be very clear, okay, for the married people, this is not towards that at all. This is for anything else, relationship that you have with things or other people, business partner, anything else, okay? You fight through the struggle on that one. I don't know what pain or things that we go through in this marriage, and I should know because I'm with my husband. I love you, babe. No, I like reality. We will go through ups and downs, but you fight to the end on that one. Just want to make sure I put that out there before you're like, oh, Lily said, doesn't even hear it. We're done. No, not that one, please. I cannot have that on my conscience. That's not what I wanted. All right, so we're going to get into the Word of God now. So if you have your Bibles or apps, I know sometimes we have Bibles underneath, but if you don't worry. I have the screen that you guys can follow. And who here has read the story about Abraham and Sarah? Who has? Yes? All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit different spin in it, so please have an open mind. You know, sometimes some of us have been in sermons before, they're like, oh, I know that story. Yeah, I know they're older. Yeah, I know if they wanted to have kids and they couldn't. Okay, so we're going to walk through on how to identify who our relationships with and do we need to end those, okay? So we're going to actually start in Genesis chapter 15, verse 5 and 6. All right, so here we go. Then the Lord took Abram, I haven't changed his name yet, Abram outside and said to him, look up into the sky. You know, our God is sometimes he has sense of humor. Because look what it says. Look up in the sky and count the stars if you can. I mean, we knew, well, he couldn't. But it says, if you can. That's how many descendants you will have. Verse 6. And Abraham believed the Lord. Okay, so I underline believe because we're going to come back to that, okay? He's believing the promise that God's giving him. And the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. Show me my notes. Right, so this is on chapter 15. We're going to move forward to, because it has more stuff, by the way, as we go through the story. I'm going to skip some parts. I'll give you a quick version, Lily version, but always go back, by the way. The Bible, it's something you always need to go back and read yourself to get a better understanding. I took portions that belong to just them two. As you know, the Bible, for those that have been reading it, it's like a novella, like I mentioned before. It will give you sections of a story. We'll add some other parts, and they'll continue back to the story. So that's what I'll be doing, okay? So we'll be kind of going through some quick, fast portions of it, but some I'm going to pause and actually read. All right, so remember, chapter 15. Abraham believed, right? I underlined it, he believed. Gosh, we're now in chapter 16. Book 16 says 1 through 2. Now, Sarai, Abraham's wife, had not been able to bear children for him, but she had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. There's my notes. So Sarai said to Abraham, the Lord has prevented me from having children. Well, hold on. I feel like I have to have sorry, Brenda. I feel like to be in character, you kind of have to know the part. Because if you read it that way, it's kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm pretty sure she was like, okay, remember novelas? I like novelas. So okay, what was novelas in English again? Soap Thank you. You know how they're over dramatic? Okay. Sometimes you have to read the Bible to make it exciting, all right? So I'll do my best here. So again, bear with me, God's still working on me. All right, so the Lord has prevented me from having children. So go and sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have children through her. And Abraham agreed with Sarah's proposal. Okay, first and foremost, you haven't read this story, you would think, right, the man of God would be like, honey, no, I cannot. I'm only one woman man. Only through you. I believe in God. No, you know he probably was like, his eyes probably got really big, like, wait, what? Honey, boo, you sure? I don't know, you can fill it in, thoughts, whatever, we'll see. You got it in there. Honey, are you sure it's what you want? She's like, sometimes us females will do anything for our love. I mean, even though bad mistakes, I know from you can do anything. We'll do anything because we love him that much that she was willing to give some, and I'm pretty sure she was obviously younger. She was probably pretty, had a nice fit body. I don't know. She's like, go with her. And that husband was like, who's heard here, happy wife, happy life? I bet that's where it started, because he was like, I want you to be happy. So if you want me to go sleep with her, I will. But if only you want it. Right? Because it says right there, and Abraham agreed with her proposal. All right, let's go on with the next one. So, Genesis 16:3-4. Let's keep on going because Novela's getting very juicy. So, hold on. Okay. So Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abraham as a wife. This happened 10 years after Abraham had settled in the land of Canaan. So Abraham had sexual relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt. So, how do you know when you're supposed to end a relationship? Or supposed to end? When you started it and God did it. Okay? First and foremost, God did not say Hagar was going to bring the promise through Abraham. That was the wife. It was her idea. Okay, there it is. When God started and you didn't. So think about your objects, relationships you're with, something that you brought up yourself. You're walking by the mall, you saw some cute girl, and we're like, she's pretty. I should go talk to her. Or you're in the club dancing, I should go talk to her. New Year's party, talking to her. A guy. Think about it. Did we ask God? Did we run it by him? Because some of us, when we make decisions, we don't. We go based on our emotions, how we feel. And that's how you know if you started or God. Because God will give you a sign. He will give you permission. You'll know because you're asking him. So that's point number one. Those are taking notes. Look at it. So, in chapter 15 that we talked about, they believed, like he actually believed, right? He's like, I believe that God has a promise. He was like, God, yes, I know you can do it. Then already in chapter 16, not even like chapters ahead. Some of us we're like, yes, I believe this, but then it takes a while to be like, oh, still waiting. Oh, still not here. No, right away they're like, well, we're not having any kids. And sometimes what we want to do is we want to help God, help us get our promise. That's what she did. She's like, well, let me go ahead and help God, help you, Abraham, get your son. Let me intervene and help support that. And that's what sometimes what we do. You gotta remember, we don't help God for what he's done, what he's doing, and what he's about to do. All we do is obey. Oh, well, that's hard for some of us to do. Because we don't like that. That's what we want it. Right? I need promise now to go to sleep. Right? Sorry, my dog looked up. I knew to get our attention. So, when we start inviting relationships that were not supposed to happen, is that we're not listening. Abraham was not supposed to be in a relationship with Hagar. But his wife, like I mentioned, had a great idea, right? I think about Christmas. How come sometimes we think, we're not thinking that God's enough to provide? So what do? We get a second job, possibly third, because I gotta get those gifts, those laptops, the Switch. They're not that cheap. See, but we're forgetting. We're saying we're not the providers. God, hold on a second. Let me help you, help me get what I need. And that's how we know. Did we start that or was that God? And when we get that job, that we're not supposed to even need it to begin with, we meet Bob, we meet Cindy, wasn't even supposed to be there, and you start having a relationship with a person that you were never intended to have. Because God didn't say for you to do that. But we couldn't hold back. Right? We had to be the provider. The question is, how many relationships do you have for not waiting on the Lord? Remember that list? Sometimes when we don't do that, what ends up happening? We allow the enemy to introduce us to counterfeits. Okay, have you guys gone to a store and have a special pen when you give like a $100 bill or like a 50? They like to mark it to see if it's a counterfeit. I'm sorry, we don't have those pens to be like me and a person. You're like, hold on a second, can I get your hand? And I, pass it, like see the counterfeit. Or like at the bank, we have this little machine, like a little, they used to, I don't know if you have anymore, Cassie, but it's like a thing you put in, and it has a special color. Or you see people like to hold them up. Now you hold a person up in the line, and be like, hold on, let me see if you're legit. That God said you were a blessing for me. We don't have those. And as I think about for Sarai, right, she had her perception was wrong. She was telling, right, she was like, the Lord has been preventing me from having children. He wasn't preventing her, he was preparing her. But it's how she looked at the situation. Right? I'm gonna be honest with you, when I had to come up here, there's like, oh God, why did you choose me? Like, are you sure? You know, I have a kind of an accent, sometimes I can pronounce it. Like you start thinking, like, oh, I have to go up there, but then you're like, no, I'm being blessed to be up here. But it's how you perceive things. Or when someone's asked you to help out with something in church, at work, you look at it like, oh, it's not convenient. Look at it as a blessing. I think I shared this in the past, but when I used to work as a teller back in the day, well, not long ago, not that old, I remember this person like constantly giving me all this work, and I was like, why is she so lazy? Why doesn't she do it? Right? So I was looking at it completely wrong. I felt like she gets paid more than me. What the heck? She had me do all this work, so I was going miserable home from my husband. He had to like deal with that. They don't not just say that's not true. But see, once I changed the way I perceived that was, no, this woman's giving me an opportunity to learn more so I can move up in the company. Because see, God has a purpose for me, and I need to move up so I can get better at public speaking, because I know I'm going to be called on December 29th to do a sermon. It's how you perceive things, and that can change your entire picture. So I don't know if I'm supposed to hear this, but I'm just telling you, if you're in a situation that you're very comfortable and unhappy because it's challenging you for whatever that is, change how you perceive it, because that will make a difference. Gosh, I would have gone into work now. I was like, what else you got? You want me to do that? I'll do that too. She's like, wow. I'm like, yeah. Because in my mind, I was all like, wait, take your job. No, I didn't feel like that. I was like, can't wait to learn more so when you retire, I can move on. And look how good God is. See, I was thinking a couple years she had it, and her like working. Within less than a year, I got promoted out of that location to a bigger one. But again, it's how you perceive things that changes everything for you. And what ends up happening, because of her perception, we'll go back to Sarai. Hers was wrong. Now she had her man having an illegitimate pregnancy with another woman. Many of us are carrying around things that were birthed out of an illegitimate relationship of things or people. You got insecurities. You got low self-esteem. You lost time. from your family because of things and people that were not supposed to be in your life. You knew you were called by God, but now you are questioning your purpose. And that's the enemy's plan. In Genesis 16:12, she even said, it was so sad. She had said, perhaps, it's a novella thing again, perhaps I can have children through her. Okay, just to make sure I bring this to you guys is, God is never going to have his promise live through someone else. Okay? It's through you. Not through your wife, not through your husband, not through your kids. It's through you. Not through your classmate, your girlfriend, baby mama, baby dad. It's yours. Sarah thought that. She thought it was maybe through Hagar. No, God's never going to use anybody else but you. Until you realize what is your calling, he will use you and help you. You're never alone. So don't ever rely on someone else's growing and that's theirs. You have your own calling. You have your own purpose. All right. This is the verse for the whole sermon, right? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. So clearly, for those that, if you don't know the story, they're actually pretty old, in their 80s. And it would logically make sense. They were leaning on their own understanding, right? She was like, oh, I'm old, he's old. Maybe I need to get, someone else. But that's how we think. God can use anything. So we try to come up with our own solutions. That makes sense. I can get a second job. I have more money to pay off this debt, and I can get this X, Y, and Z. See, that's the whole point of a miracle, is because if it made sense, God would never get the glory. So this is why it's very important that you do not lean on your own understanding, because he will make it happen. And sometimes it's not going to make sense. But that's because that's God. And he shows off a little sometimes. And that's all right with me. So when I was talking about their understanding, and Hagar, thought she had to get a younger woman. All she did was make it worse for them. Because we continue to the story, we're going to see a lot more things that actually made it worse when you get into a relationship you're not supposed to. And by the way, God wants you to have a standard. When you don't have a standard, you are inviting anyone or anything in your life. Oh, you ask, what's the standard? The Word of God. So the end of verse 4, Hagar, it was talking about, Hagar began to treat her mistress, Sarai, with contempt. I could only imagine, back to my novella real quick, Hagar, right? Because remember, she was a servant. I'm pretty sure she wasn't living it up. Oh, but now she's alive. And she's pregnant. I can only imagine her with Sarah looking around. Pregnant with your man. That's what that says. Well, it's not there, but the Bible. She was probably making her, walking around like, that's right. You can't have any children, but I can. You need me. So she's probably, I don't know, laying around. Can you give me that? Oh, I'm pregnant, can't. Let's continue because this story is getting juicy, at least for me. All right. Genesis 16, 5 and 6. Then Sarai said to Abraham, back to another elephant? Okay. This is all your fault. I put my servant into your arms, but now that she's pregnant, she treats me with contempt. The Lord will show who is wrong, you or me. I don't know why as people we tend to is it just me? Oh, some of you have it too. So she is now obviously upset Now, again, remember, she came up with the idea. Now she doesn't like it. Abraham replied, look, she is your servant, so deal with her as you see fit. Then Sarai treated Hagar so harshly she finally ran away. What's my second point I'm trying to get at? How do you know you're supposed to end a relationship? When no one wants to deal with the real issue. They didn't want to deal with it. They were blaming each other. And that's how you know when they're arguing about the outcome of the real issue, right? Oh, by the way, all relationships do have issues. I get it. Unhealthy, wrong relationships have unaddressed problems. All right, let's continue with the story. So Hagar, oh, you know what, I skipped, sorry. This is the part I kind of skipped some portions because she left. She actually saw an angel, God, and sent her back and said, no, just go ahead and go back. Because you know she left. She probably got punched by Sarai. Like, I'm just saying, no one just runs off because, oh, she's kind of mean to me. No, she really had to be harshly mean to her. I'm assuming there's some physical violence in there. You know, she was pregnant. I'm pretty sure something had happened for her to want to leave and for her to want to come back. So, she does come back. Now we're looking at verse 15 and 16. It says here, so Hagar gave Abraham a son, and Abraham named him Ishmael. Abraham was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. Now, the reason I kind of stopped here, we're going to move forward fast again, is for a quick reason. How old was he? 86. Yeah. So, drama doesn't have an age limit. Some of us here might think it's for the young bucks. And all this passion, all this lust. No. Abraham was 86 and he was caught in drama. So age doesn't matter to sin, and it will find anyone that this. So this is again just for some of us are self-righteous people who think this is just for the young people. Bless you. But it's for anybody. All right, so this is what I told you we're going to move kind of quick. There's chapter 17. That's when they get their names changed from Abram to Abraham. Sarah gets changed to Sarah. There's more stories in there. Please go back and read. Chapter 18 is when Sarah hears, the angel of the Lord say that she's going to have a kid by the next time this year. And so she laughs, and God's like, oh, you laugh? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm not a child. So I was like, oh, yeah, let's go move to chapter 21. I'm going to show you when I deliver your promise. So, and this one is, so when Isaac grew, hold on, I might have went way too fast. No, I'm going to wait. All right, so in chapter 21, they now finally have their promise, okay? They have, it took, by the way, 14 years later to finally get their son, before they decided to, mess with that and think that they had to. And God delivers a promise named Isaac. For 7 verses, everything's okay, then problems are really going to start coming back again. So let's go ahead and read. So chapter 21, verse 8 and 9. When Isaac grew up and it was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. Verse 9. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and her Egyptian servant Hagar, making fun of her son Isaac. Okay, for us females or moms, if anybody messes with your kid, that is one thing you just do not do. Okay? Quick story. When Karina, she was, you were at school? No, preschool. Anyways, we were at the Hubbard Park. I still remember. No, Hubbard, right? Hubbard, yes, it was Hubbard Park. We were there, me and my husband, Daisy and Karina were playing, and she must have been 4, yeah, I know, 4. And I remember she comes back running, and she's like, Mom, this little boy is picking on me. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was literally emotional, like, no, he's picking on me, he's saying this. Immediately, I'm like, who? What little boy? So I'm like ready to attack. And I'm this little kid too, right? But it's just the thing. So I can only imagine if she saw a 14-year-old picking her little son. You know what I did? I looked at my husband, I'm like, are you going to do something? And he's like, obviously I was not logically correct there because that was my child, and he was probably like, I'm like a male, am I going to go pick on a little kid? I'm like, you're not going to do anything, I will. So I'm like stomping, I'm like, who is he? Tell me. And she's like, that one. And I saw him, and I can see the mom staring, So I was like, okay, be cautious, but still say it. I'm like, you, leave her alone, okay? Just leave her alone. He's like, okay. I'm like, okay. And I walk away. But again, okay, now I wouldn't do that. I'll be like, oh, honey, just go beat him up. Just kidding. I will not. So that's so right. But seriously, that's one thing you just cannot do to him. And that's what just happened. So I literally connected with Sarah here when she saw the emotion of some bigger kid picking on her son. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, get rid of that. Okay, she said, get rid of that slave and her son, slave woman and her son. He is not going to share the inheritance of my son, Isaac. In case you forgot. Okay, it doesn't say that, but it says Isaac. I won't have it. Again, I felt like I knew what she probably felt because of the way when I was telling my husband, like, I can do something about it. And he's like, no, I'll do it. How do you know you're supposed to end a relationship? When the relationships produces is picking or hurting your promise. That thing, whatever's producing, is hurting your promise, your calling, your purpose that God has for you. As we look at, to continue with some of the story, you think of examples, how would that be hurting I have 3 examples to actually share with you. That relationship that has, with that woman or man, that's producing lust, that is picking on your purity, your goodness. Example 2, that relationship with that business partner is producing greed, that is picking on your generosity. Or the last one, that phone, social media, is producing isolation, that is picking on your godly community that God wants you to be in. Those are some of the examples. We have some things or people that we don't let go because we're not letting go. They won't let it go because we're not letting go. I know it's hard to say than to actually do, because look what happened here in Genesis 11 and 12. This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son. The wife just told him, get rid of him. She wasn't there when he got to see his son when he was born. We saw him grow up. That's hard. You attach to things. But see, when you're desperate and you're attached to something, you build a connection, even if it's not supposed to even be there. That was hard for Abraham. But look at 12. But God told Abraham, do not be upset over the boy and your servants. Do whatever Sarah tells you. So what is he saying? Get rid of him. For Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. But I will also make a nation of the descendants of Hagar's son, because it is your son too. So what happens when you actually go? Everyone gets blessed. His son, that he has to let go, that he's worried about, who's going to take care of him, he's only fortunate. God's going to bless him because you're holding on. When you hold on to a relationship, onto that thing that you don't let go, because maybe that person is depending on you. But if you move out of the way, they'll meet our true God. Because they think you're the provider, but the only God provider that we have is our Father. So Abraham, so I like we're wrapping up by the way, so just bear with me. It's past 12. So what I like about the Word of God is it actually tells you how to do it. Because it's hard, and I get that. These are some of the steps that when we look at this verse, he's telling you how to do it. It says, chapter 21, verse 14. So Abraham got up early next morning. If you're taking notes, do it quickly. Okay? Sounds like to dread. Like, oh, I have to let you go. I love her. He's so cute. No. He didn't say take your time. By the way, there's never a good time. It says right there, Abraham got up early the next morning, okay? After God said, please let it go too. So do it quickly. Then it says, he prepared food in a container and water and strapped them to Hagar's shoulders. What's the next one? Quickly, with blessing, if possible. we're still the character, we're still Christians. We don't want to be like, we're done. Really, finish with you? No. With blessing. He could have gone to the servant and told them, go and get our food. He did it himself. He did it with blessing. Then he sent her away with their son. Do it intentionally. That's the third one. So quickly, with blessings, intentionally. Do not even beg. You know, when you're trying to talk to someone, you're like, I need time to myself. It's not the season. Can I get some time? No. If you're done, don't leave that door open. Say we're done. And the last one is entrusting in God. His promise. See, the reason Abraham even listened was because God brought him his promise. He saw Isaac. So you always want to end it quickly, with blessings, intentionally, and always trusting God, because he always has and always will have the best plan for you. And just, it's not in here, but I'll read real quick. And then Genesis verse 20, chapter 20, 21:20 says, and God was with the boy as he grew up in the wilderness. He became a skillful archer, and he got married. He got blessing. Everybody gets blessed. So when you cut people or things, you need to trust God. So I ask you again, who are you in relationship with? How do you know in 2018, as you go in 2019, you need to end a relationship with items or things or people? When you started it and God didn't, when no one wanted to deal with the real issue, when what the relationship produces is picking or hurting your promise. And I'll finish with this last slide, which is the main verse that I want to talk to you about, which was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. As we wrap up 2018, go in 2019, get ready. Remember, God has a purpose and a calling. There's things and people that are holding you back. And hopefully this will give you some light on how to know. First, take inventory and know if you're supposed to let go.